Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to our installment of Scott Selections here for Monday, October 4th. Before we get into today's play of the day, quick recap of what happened. So we ended up picking up a couple of losses, really a brutal day on Sunday. To go through everything, we had two teasers. They both lost. To go through those, we gave out the Bengals -1.5 and the Titans -1.5 last week at -120 on Bet Online. Bengals won. Titans were up 7 in the fourth quarter, and they ended up losing the game outright to the Jets in overtime. Then the second teaser we had yesterday for the play of the day gave out the Chiefs -0.5 and the Saints -0.5 at -130 on DraftKings. Chiefs won, and then the Saints led by 11 at home against the Giants with two receivers missing, and they blew an 11-point lead in about 7 minutes and lost the game in overtime. So both teasers we had ended up losing in overtime, which was really annoying. And we ended up losing the joint video play in the NFL with the Rams -4.5 at -110 on DraftKings. McVay historically owned Kingsbury. I thought it might happen once again because the Cardinals hadn't really played any good defenses. Didn't matter. The Cardinals were fantastic. Credit to them. They dominated from start to finish, and that was a complete sweat-free loser. So 0-3, awful day. Gave back a decent amount of the profit and then some from the college football Saturday, both to bounce back here on Monday. And for the play today, looking at the NFL because, it's the only game on the card. Looking at Monday night between the Raiders and the Chargers, we're taking a player prop. It's going to be on Justin Herbert, longest completion over 37.5 yards at -114 on FanDuel. Time recording of 2:40 a.m. Eastern time. Couple reasons why I like the over in the spot. First of all, to go through Herbert with this number, he has gone over in each of the last two games, as he has gotten into the 40s in each of the last two games. So Herbert has a lot of great receivers out there. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and even Guyton, I do think is a sleeper receiver who could potentially burn somebody up the seam if you pay too much attention to Williams and to Allen. But Herbert has really displayed throughout his career tremendous arm strength and a very underrated accuracy when it comes to the deep ball. And I do think with Mike Williams, who's one of the best jump ball receivers in the league, he should have some opportunities in some one-on-one coverage spots, which should lead to some success. Now, the Raiders have really struggled in pass defense up to this point, and especially covering up big plays. They play primarily zone coverage, which could sound pretty good because it might force stuff underneath. However, if your corners aren't actually that good, which the Raiders' corners are not, but I'll get into that in a second, then you might find yourself into some pretty difficult spots because you might see opponents overload one side. You might struggle with safeties being matched up one-on-one on deep passes with talented wide receivers. And the Raiders have given up a decent amount of big plays up to this point in the passing game. The Raiders gave up a 49-yard completion to Lamar Jackson in week 1 and a 52-yard completion to Big Ben in week 2, which is especially impressive because Big Ben never throws the ball basically more than 5 yards at this stage in his career, but he even found a way to find one spot to air it out over this defense. But you're looking at the Raiders secondary, which I just alluded to. According to Pro Football Focus, the Raiders have the 4th worst secondary in the league. So I do think with the zone coverage, with the two safety scheme in the cover 3, you're eventually going to see safeties matched up one-on-one on either Mike Williams or even Guyton or anybody. And I do think that in a jump ball situation, you have a decent shot at making one of those catches. Plus, even in zone coverage, if you just find yourself an opening in the seam, you let Jared Cook run free against the linebacker. I do think there are enough holes in this defense where you can maybe find a huge gain there up the seam for 40-plus yards. Not to mention the potential screen pass to Eckler and the very talented receiving back that he is. Maybe he can potentially break one. But to go through the actual protection schemes for both teams in terms of pass rush and just blocking, the Chargers' offensive line has actually been very good at protecting Justin Herbert so far this season. You can notice how the Chargers made offensive line a huge priority during the offseason, signing Lindsley, end up drafting Slater, and it has paid off. Chargers' offensive line has the 5th lowest QB sacked percentage in the league. So Herbert has been pretty comfortable back there, and the Raiders' defensive line has been pretty mediocre, as the Raiders' defensive line ranks 17th in sack percentage in the league. The Raiders, playing mostly zone, don't exactly send much pressure. They do occasionally, and if that's the case, you should have even more openings in this defense. But even if they don't, I think Herbert will have a lot of time in the pocket, and he's also extremely mobile, which could help him buy some extra time in the pocket. But I do think eventually coverage is going to break down, and I do think the Raiders' defensive line still has some questions that need to be answered against the quality offensive line. I think Herbert should have time in the pocket. I think he'll be able to pick apart this defense. And I do think that with his passing yards prop at around 300 and change, they're expecting Herbert to have a lot of success against this defense, and I do think one of those completions will eventually be greater than a 37.5. The play that I once again here for Monday, October 4th, is going to be on Justin Herbert, longest completion over 37.5 yards at -114 on FanDuel. Bye, everyone.